this programme, Riverdale, popped up on Netflix a few weeks ago to not a lot of fanfare in this country. Luke may be more familiar with this than me and Matt because it's based on the American Archie Comics. It's something you know a little bit more about?
They're like in the newspaper. They're like quite cartoonish. I didn't know that they were these teen... If you Google image Archie Comics, you do not get...
No, it's using the names to be familiar. Basically, Riverdale is a small American town. It's got a high school. It's got a high school football team. It's got a sheriff. It centres initially around Veronica, who is coming back to the town with her mother.
Well, no, she's not coming back to the town. Just the mother.
Her mother's coming back. Sorry, her mother's coming back is what I meant. Coming back with their heads held low because her father has been involved in a Ponzi scheme or a government scheme, which has meant that he's now in jail.
Lots of
Ponzi schemes this week.
Indeed,
a very Ponzi podcast, we should call it.
It all features around the local high school, Riverdale High School. Veronica starts going there, and she immediately catches the eye of young Archie. Archie is the kind of central character of the piece, and he's immediately involved in this mini love triangle.
It's like the all-American sort of...
Yeah, he's involved in a little bit of a love triangle with his next-door neighbour and best friend, Betty, who's basically your kind of like dowdy but clearly not that ugly girl next door from school.
He's also having it off with his music teacher as well.
Well, that I was going to come to, is that actually he kind of rebuffs the attentions of Betty and Veronica because he's already having it off with his music teacher. The main plot, though, centres around a murder of the
Are you guessing that? Or...
The previous high school quarterback and also previous student of the music teacher, whose name I can't remember because
Jason Blossom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And his twin sister is still at the school, and she is very much the school bitch.
She's the queen bee, isn't she? She's
That's right. Yeah.
Head of the cheerleaders.
That's it. And that part of it is very Mean Girls, isn't it? That kind of element of it is all very.
Well, it's in every sort of it's a trope of the teen.
Exactly.
Drama,
yeah. The show very much has a feel of Veronica Mars, without
I'll disagree with you in a minute.
Well, okay. But without that kind
Look forward to that, people.
Yeah, without that lead kind of character investigating, although Betty in later episodes does take on that role a bit more, which I know and I doubt you two have followed up
Not
on.
Veronica, though. Oddly.
No, not Veronica. Not
couldn't
really.
do that. That would have been too obvious.
This kind of show, whilst very much formulaic, there hasn't been a successful one in my memory for a while. And a lot of people have said, obviously, like we're saying, that having the names of the characters that you already know makes it very familiar without having to actually have watched a lot of them. And that's obviously mostly from American reviews that I've read, rather than obviously from international reviews. I like the idea of the murder mystery that's going to run throughout the series.
Right.
And I like the fact that there were different twists and turns, which I know from watching the most recent episodes that have come out, in the things that you thought were obvious aren't, and those kind of twists, which I think are very... At least first season Veronica Mars, where she dealt with the murder of her best friend and her own rape. I also like the kind of the middle Americana type style. You know, the Friday Night Lights links. You know, building it around the high school, the cheerleaders.
But you didn't watch Friday
like
Night Lights, did you? Or did you?
I have watched the first series of Friday Night Lights.
Right. So you're a fan, and you've watched.
I'm a fan, and I have watched all 4 of the episodes that are available. Just to say that. Over here, Netflix are releasing a new episode every Friday, in line with what's coming out on the CW network in America. I'm not sure what the lag is, but it's being shown weekly, obviously, over there. So we're not going to get all 13 episodes in one go.
I mean, you're comparing it to shows, I think, like Veronica Mars and things like that, but they had, like, likeable sort of protagonists. Veronica Mars was, like, the narrator of the show there. I mean, in the first episode, definitely, we've got a narrator in, is it Jughead?
Jughead, yeah.
Who barely appears in the show, and we're stuck with blooming Archie, who's... The actor playing him is so bland. I just found him completely bland. As you say, like, the murder mystery element, yes, but a lot of it feels cliched. We've seen it before, but this doesn't seem to have its own identity. I don't feel there's anything about this new, and you're saying... You haven't seen anything like this in a long time, so it's obviously more like a sort of comfortable watch rather than...
Yeah,
I would agree. There's nothing in this that feels original or fresh or anything like that. There wasn't a lot that it was all it reminded me of things that I liked more than this. there wasn't a likable lead like there was in Veronica Mars. I didn't think it was as strongly plotted as Veronica Mars. You had that sort of case of the week there, whereas this is very much like the relationships and things like that. I think it has got more in tone with Gossip Girl. I think I like the style of it. That was probably the best thing. That it was very sort of stylized, and linking back to the intro here, I did start to nod off towards the last.
Fair enough.
I didn't like this.
Hold on. Before we go on to Luke, let me just answer a couple of points that Matt raised. One of the key things is you begin to find that Betty becomes the kind of Veronica Mars sympathetic character.
I know I've said this before, but why should I have to wait till episode 3 for that to happen?
Sure.
If you want me invested in the show from the start, don't do that in episode 3. Do it in episode 1, where I'm still watching.
Sure.
I don't understand this logic of TV shows sometimes, where people, you have to watch 3 or 4 episodes before you get into it. No, I want to watch the first episode and be invested. I need some sort of hook.
You need a hook. You need something to hook
and there was no hook here.
It was another from a distance viewing. I struggled to believe that what I was seeing would happen or was happening. They kept referencing weird things like Betty Draper, and I didn't imagine that these characters
there was a lot of references.
Would be massive Mad Men fans.
Yeah, there was a lot of references, wasn't there, that really irritated me. I forgot to say that.
I just didn't believe that these people were real. Yeah. And of course, when you feel that way, you don't care about their predicament.
It was very much like a comic, and that's it. It's a comic book on screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very much the way I feel about Peaky Blinders, that doesn't feel real. That feels like a comic book on screen, and I mean that's possibly what they're going for to an extent, isn't it?
I think there is an element
depth. It lacked any depth, and very similar to what we said about the Santa Clarita Diet. I just didn't care for any of the people. I mean, you only need one person actually to latch onto in a show. It didn't have that one person. And
it's a very American show. It's an American show. I don't think it's got a lot of British appeal. I don't see it getting a big British following. I mean, as you were saying about the American critics, I don't know anyone who sort of talked about it over here.
It's like when you said you liked the style of it. I very much like we spoke about another show last week. I found the style of it sort of overwhelmed it. It was too much.
Well, I think they were going for the comic book style, weren't they? They were trying
they're definitely going for that, and I would agree that they're definitely going for subjects and themes which are more relevant to teenagers. One of the later episodes deals with the idea of a group of guys who get together and attempt to sleep with the cheerleaders in order to score points on a book system.
That was in a Veronica Mars episode.
Well, yes, exactly. So they are going for those. It's very.
They are basically trying to copy Veronica Mars and use the Archie's comic as a. What I'm basically saying is watch Veronica Mars.